Welcome to Chamber Connect. I'm your host, Deb Newman, President and CEO of the Bangor Region Chamber of Commerce, and I'm calling this episode, Where Are They Now? I know, intrigue. Joining me is a dear friend of mine, Summer Allen, and Summer formerly owned an incredible boutique shoe shop in downtown Bangor called Valentine Footwear. That doesn't even begin to describe how amazing that business was.
Thank you.
And my closet is a reflection, let me just say. And you, well, first of all, welcome to the program. Thank you for being
Oh, I'm
here.
so glad to be here. It's been far too long
I know,
since we've been on the radio together.
We've been on the radio in the past together, and we hang out together, and we've known each other for a long time. And here we are back on the radio again.
Yes, I love your studio.
I know, isn't it fun? Very cozy. Yeah, and here we are on True Country 93.5, 96.1, and we're delighted to be with you. So let's talk about you, enough about me. Valentine Footwear.
Yes.
Again, if you know downtown Bangor, you know Valentine Footwear. And you were in business there for how many years?
12 years. I opened Valentine Footwear at 115 Main Street, which is now the Stage Door next to Penobscot Theater. And I opened that in 2011. And I decided to close it in early 2023.
And let's describe the shop, because I don't think I did it justice.
Okay, so the shop, the vibe was supposed to be very much like a comfy living room. And it was very kind of cozy, extremely clean, bright, and just beautiful. And very community centered with comfortable, fun, and functional women's footwear.
And here's the thing that I think made it so special is you.
Well, thank you. I mean, any really small business is going to be centered around customer service from the owner. And I, at all times I had between 1 and 4 employees, but most of the time it was me there.
Yeah, and you knew everybody's shoe size. I think you
still
knew
do.
everybody's shoe size in the entire Bangor region. You still
Yes.
do? Yeah. What's
I think
mine?
I still do.
Do you remember?
You're a size 9.
Stop it!
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
But and what you do, your customer service was, this is a great lesson for everybody in business, was over the top extraordinary. You would email me or message me, and because you knew what I liked, you knew my style, and this is just not true for just me. All of your customers would say, "Hey, just got these, fill in the blank in your size. Do you want to come look at them?" Yes, I do. You were really, really good at that.
That's the fun part. So good independent retail, as one of my mentors describes it as, selling is customer service. So you're not just selling just to make a buck. You're existing for a reason to serve your customer and your community. And so it's not just about, here's a thing, please buy it and give me money. It's about reaching out to people and building that relationship.
And you had quality goods there too. Really?
Yeah, I mean, that part of the research and building those relationships, not just with the customers and the community, but also with vendors, brands, and sales reps, everyone all over the country.
And one of the things that impressed me about you, still does, is how you pivoted during the pandemic, which was not an easy time
wild.
for retailers.
It was wild. It's hard to sell someone an item that they physically put on their body when they are not supposed to be in the store. And, our business at that time didn't have e-commerce because I was so focused on that in-person service. I mean, we did get e-commerce up pretty quickly, but it never became a big part of the business because the reason that my store existed was to give in-person service. But we did shut down during COVID, and we were there behind the scenes doing hours every day of live broadcasting on Facebook Live and just talking to customers and, dropping off. I came up with these mystery bags, like gift bags, and we would bring shoes out onto the sidewalk if people needed to try things on. It was weird, and it was wild, but it was the ultimate pivot.
And I remember during that time, it was usually Friday nights. You had kind of a little virtual cocktail hour.
Yes.
And you would be in the shop, and your customers would join you on Facebook Live, and it was more than just shopping. It was connecting. It was. I
Yes.
looked forward to that every Friday night because I could just connect with people. And then it was so fun because you'd put something up and say, "This is the last scarf I have," and then it became a little competitive, right?
Yes, the fun
It was so
type
fun.
of competition
Yeah.
when it's like this doesn't truly matter, but it totally matters in the community aspect. And having that, I think it was like virtual happy hour or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's what it was.
And so that type of being virtual and doing all these live online shows and sales, that was one of the positive things that did come out of COVID, was just that, willingness to change how small businesses sell and participate in, the relationships with their customers.
And I think your customers were really with you during that time. I think we wanted to support
Yes.
you and we wanted to help you. And it was just, it was an incredible example of, again, how to adapt and adjust to things that are completely out of your control. But let's fast forward to closing the shop. So
Yes.
all this great stuff's going on and you decide what?
Well, I am just going to start this off by saying I've always been a really decisive person, and I spend a lot of time thinking and mulling things over, like probably most of us do. But once I make a decision, I'm ready to move. I'm ready to move it forward. And there is not any one reason why I decided to close Valentine Footwear, but there were so many small kind of nudges. There were like internal and external kind of things that were just moving me towards, I'm ready to do something different. I didn't know what it was. Independent retail was changing, the footwear industry was changing. But I think if I had to pick like one thing, I would say my why changed. Meaning the reason why I had my business was different than when I started it in 2011. And I think that would be the one way to kind of summarize it. I was a different person, shopping was different, my business was different, I was in a different place, and so were my customers, so were the products and the companies, and I was just ready to do something different, and I wasn't sure what that was, so I didn't move on it immediately, but then I became okay with not knowing what the next step was and deciding, well, whatever the next step is, I have to stop this and close it and kind of regroup and then see what's out there.
Turn the page.
Yeah, close the chapter, or sometimes I describe it, take all those memories and put them in like a little figurative little shoebox, put them up on a shelf, and just I can visit them. But, we're done.
For anybody listening who perhaps is in the same situation, share some lessons learned or how you navigated through that transition, through that process of closing your store.
I am so proud of how I navigated that whole change. And I think it's important to focus on your mission, vision, and values, which is like a mentoring thing. Anyone who's like helping a new business will say like, you need to know the mission of your business, the vision of your business, and the values of your business before you kind of, build on that. And you have to do that in every aspect of your business, and that includes starting it, running it, developing it, and closing it. So I knew I wanted to maintain a positive relationship with my community, with my customers, with my vendors, with everyone who my business had touched in some way, but I had to mostly be true to myself and say, I've decided to close, so this is how I'm going to do it. I want to do it in this way with integrity. I want to include the customers and the community and say, look, this is like no one's fault, it's just a thing. Like I'm just decided, like I'm just ready to stop. And I think it's different than a lot of job changes that people go through, because when you own your own business, like you are your own boss, your own HR department, you're your own professional development, your own advisor, and obviously you have a team of people that can advise you elsewhere, but you're the one responsible for it, and you have to make all those decisions.
And you're visible.
Very visible and very, people have feelings when you close a business,
Yeah.
and they were mostly positive.
Yeah.
Even though some customers were sad that I was closing my business, they were understanding. So it wasn't a lot of doom and gloom, and that was not a message that I would allow people to run away with. Like I said, I'm owning the narrative. The narrative is the store is closing, and there are many reasons why, but it's not, it's on my own terms. It wasn't like, being chased out of town. It wasn't being, any weird negative thing that, that anyone could grab onto. I'm still here. I have some of my best friends are former customers. And I'm still I'm involved in the community. I live in the community, and I just was ready to do something different.
And I will point out that you got out ahead of it with the media as well. You contacted the media first and said, hey, I want to do a story about closing the business, and I want to tell my story before people found out about it on this, on the street, if you will, and started making assumptions and etc. So that was really smart.
I think a big mistake that small business owners make when they close their business is they just kind of let things happen to them. And I'm not saying anyone in particular has done this, but sometimes I see these stories that come out in newspapers, and they're very kind of like pointing fingers at the economy or at a politician or at a certain time and place, and it's like, why don't we just all be grown-ups, take responsibility? Ultimately, you made this decision, whatever reason it comes from. You make the decision to close your business. Now I say, let's celebrate.
Right.
Celebrate your customers, celebrate your community, celebrate all the work you and your employees have done, and just, own that decision.
And and having been in business myself too, I can completely relate to this, because your life changes, your priorities change, your dreams change. And I think as entrepreneurs, one of our challenges is that we're very entrepreneurial, and I enjoy the creative part and the startup phase more than anything else. And then I can get bored after a while, and I want to start something else up. And that's just kind of how we're wired, I think, as entrepreneurs. So
starting a business is a unique, energetic type of place to be in.
Yeah.
And for me, I look back on it and I can't believe, wow, I did that for 12 years. That seems like a big chunk of time. But then I look, I have a lot of business people in my life. I grew up in a small business. My dad owns a small business, Winterport Boot Shop, just celebrated 50 years. So I guess if you're looking at a business that's been around for 50 years, then 12 years is just like a little baby business.
Right.
But
it's a long time.
Yeah, I do love the startup, and I do, I love the development, and that phase is really fun. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs who are very much into starting the thing, developing it, and then being like, all right, we're selling, we're closing, now what? And that chase hasn't really been a big part for me, but it is so exhilarating to be in that phase again that I'm totally loving it.
So that's a great segue. We only have a few minutes left with Summer Allen. What are you up to now? Where is Summer today?
Okay, well, I'm sitting right here in the heart of downtown Bangor, and I have a new business. Yay! And it's a consulting and coaching business. So it's not a business with a physical space. I am the business. It's based out of my home currently, and my business is called Valentine Consulting Partners. And obviously that name comes from my use of Valentine, which is so Valentine Footwear was my footwear business, and then Valentine is a street that is prominent in my family's history in New York City.
Oh, cool.
So there's a family connection on Valentine Avenue in the South Bronx, New York, and I'm a third generation retailer. My grandparents were my grandfather was a suit salesman, and my grandmother was a department store employee. And then, my dad came from New York City, moved to Maine, and started his business. So I'm the third generation of retailer, second generation of retail shop owner in my family. And so that's where Valentine comes from. But now I'm offering business coaching and business consulting, specifically retail consulting. to businesses in Maine and beyond, because most of my work can be done virtually.
I love it.
I love it too. I'm excited after spending
Perfect for you. It's
after
perfect.
spending so much time, and I loved my store and I loved having a physical base. It feels really freeing to not have to sign a lease, to not have to have more employees, and to not have to buy inventory.
And
These
work
all things that I love.
weekends and
All
crazy
things-
holidays
Yeah.
and all of
Make
that.
my own schedule.
Make your own schedule. What repeat the name of the business for us?
It's Valentine Consulting Partners, and the website is valentineconsultingpartners.com. And I did have that website developed locally, and I am very excited. I'm accepting new clients, and my ideal client is a small retailer who is either in a startup or expansion phase, or potentially you're closing your business, because I think that's actually going to be a niche for me.
I think so too.
Because I loved the process of wrapping everything up.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a couple clients who I'm going to be basically coaching them through closing their business. But at the same time, I'm coaching people through opening a business and developing businesses.
This is so great.
So it's very, very cool and very cyclical. And but I will be focusing mostly on small or even micro businesses.
And I knowing you as well as I do, you are very frank.
Yes, I can be.
In a good way, very honest. And if I had a retail business myself, I would just want you to come and do a walkthrough, because when it's your business, you're just too darn close to it to see things that could be improved. But again, you're just too close to it. But you could come in and say, you might want to think about, or I would do this, and yeah, you'd be great. It would be great.
There's so many ways to get really lonely when you're running, especially like a small shop, when it's you and maybe like a few employees. You see the same things every day, and you just kind of get a little blind to them. And I love providing, I can do what I call like a curb appeal audit. That's like looking at like your parking lot and your front facing, and like I can provide like an audit of what are your customers really seeing? Like, what do you need to do? We can talk about packaging. We can talk about customer service. We can talk about expanding your product selection, the customer experience. There's so many things we can talk about. But I think the most important thing for me is just offering that extra kind of set of eyes and the extra knowledge that I like to bring and help other people. Again, because sometimes you're just too close to the problem to really ask the questions. And that's what I'd like to help people with.
ValentineConsultingPartners.com. I'm going to your website right now. Ooh, that's really nice. Oh, that's really nice. Oh, that's a nice photo. Oh, it's all
yes,
really...
I had it developed locally, 110 Digital.
Yep.
Based in Bangor.
Really good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you, Deb.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to give a personal shout out. Deb has always been part of my team.
It's true.
So when I say you're building a business, build your team, and Deb's been there for me. So it's great to be part of this new show, and I wish it all the best.
And I'm excited for your next chapter.
Thank you. I'm going to leave a bunch of business cards here.
Oh, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Thank you, Summer Allen, for joining us. And check out her website, ValentineConsultingPartners.com. And thank you for just sharing your experience.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's going to resonate with a lot of people listening. Thanks for joining us on Chamber Connect. I'm your host, Deb Newman, here on True Country 93.5, 96.1.